Akihara Strand, Chair of Oahu Democrats, and I'm with Representative Gregg Takayama, who is running again for the House of Representatives from District 34. Aloha, Gregg.
Aloha, Lorna. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Tell us about where you were born and your childhood, Ohana.
Well, Lorna, I grew up here in Oahu, actually in Kalihi Valley. You know, the normal, now we call it a working class neighborhood, but of course it was our neighborhood. Grew up with neighborhood kids running around outside and screaming and yelling and playing games till all hours of the night till our parents yelled at us to come home. One thing I distinctly remember is that my mom had one rule. You can scream and yell and play outside and talk pidgin all you like while you're outdoors, but the minute you stepped in the house, you had to speak proper English. One thing that it stuck with me because it turns out every job I've ever had after I grew up, proper English was a fundamental necessity for me, and not only to succeed, but to just get the job.
And where do you call home now in your adult life, Ohana?
Of course, I live in Pearl City, in the heart of Pearl City in Momilani, and you know it's not that different from growing up in Kalihi. I still we have kids playing basketball outside till all hours of the afternoon and night, and it brings home a lot of memories. So one of the things I grew up in Kalihi Valley is that our neighbors, two neighbors, had hundreds of chickens and fighting cocks, and so I'm one of those who's immune to roosters. It's a neighborhood concern, but somehow I don't hear them.
Tell us about someone who is your personal hero who inspires you to keep moving every day.
Well, you know, I worked for Senator Inouye in Washington as his press secretary for 12 years. And, you know, he's someone that you can't help but respect and idolize, someone who's overcome physical hardship because of his disability, lost his right arm in the war, one who stood up personal bravery on the battlefield, and throughout his political career always stood up for Hawaii, always had the vision of what was right for Hawaii. And you know, we miss him truly. And that's someone who, even to this day, when we have decisions to be made in the State House, I often think about, you know, what would Dan Inouye do? So yeah, he's definitely an inspiration for me.
What have been some defining moments or events in your life that helped to shape you as a Democrat?
You know, speaking of Senator Inouye, one of the things that happened in the 80s when I was working in Washington was he would have monthly meetings of the Hawaii delegation. Himself, Senator Spark Matsunaga, Congresswoman Patsy Mink, Congressman Danny Akaka. And you think about being a fly on the room for meetings like that. Well, I was a fly on the room because, you know, we staffed it. And to hear them discuss the issues of the day, which oddly enough are very similar to what you hear today. Concerns about what will happen when we lose sugar as the #1 industry in Hawaii. What happens to, you know, the people who are the plantation workers of the day. Rail was a big problem was getting the federal match for the rail at the time was, of course, $4 billion. So the match was $2 billion. Issues like that resound today. And, you know, I still, in my mind's eye, think of, you know, Danny Akaka standing up for Hawaiians and working people. Patsy Mink being so impatient all the time. Spark Matsunaga being the somewhat of an idealist, and Senator Inouye, of course, being the ultimate pragmatist and getting things done.
Why do you think you're the right Democrat for the job of representative for District 35 this year?
You know, my advantage over my opponents is I've represented the district for the past 10 years. I know the schools, I know the problems. You know, kids who were fourth graders when I started 10 years ago graduated from Pearl City High School this year. And so I know what it's like. I know the concerns of working families in the neighborhood. I know the concerns of the elderly in the neighborhood who simply want a place to age in place in safety and security. That's what I bring to the job, my knowledge and background and awareness of what's been going on in the community for the past 10 years. And I listen. I'm a good listener.
in the next 30 seconds that we have left, if you went and can accomplish two things, what might that be?
Well, number one, I think we need to build on the potential of broadband. One thing pandemic showed, we need broadband up and running. And the second thing is we need a future for our Hawaii economy to be able to bring our young people home. 2 of my 3 daughters are on the mainland. Let's work on a solution to help make it possible for them to afford to live here.
And if Democrats want to volunteer for your campaign, how can they reach you?
I welcome any and all. My website is, my email is greggtakayama@hawaii.rr.com. Please, I welcome your support.
Mahalo and aloha.
Mahalo, Lorna.